let's look at an interesting cryptocurrency called Amplecoin, and we will also look, more broadly at, the crypto market. First off, read this disclaimer carefully, and do your good deed of the day by liking and subscribing. Let's quickly, get a bit of a picture of the market. Now there are rotations now in the market, and that is something we just have to be a bit aware of, be a bit extra agile. As far as the cryptos go, looking at the big names here, you can see that Ethereum is quite significantly outperforming here the Bitcoin. But there is some distance here from the highs when it comes to, Bitcoin Cash and, Ethereum as well. So let's, kind of look under the hood. I think one thing that is interesting to look at, let's look at Bitcoin seasonality. We don't have many years of data, unfortunately, but let's look at what we do have. We don't have many years, that is the caveat here, but March is problematic. But certainly strength here heading into, May. So that is interesting, that's relevant. So here's Ampleforth, the rebasing cryptocurrency. Ample is like Bitcoin, except it can be used in contracts. It's a cryptocurrency and financial building block. Much like Bitcoin, it is algorithmic and uncollateralized. However, unlike Bitcoin, Ample can be used to denominate stable contracts. Let's quickly just go through this. The Ampleforth Protocol translates price volatility into supply volatility. This means the number of Ample tokens is used in user wallets automatically increases or decreases based on price. These supply adjustments are called rebases, and rebases occur once each day. When the Ample network grows, you'll automatically have more tokens. That's a very interesting incentive. When the Ample network shrinks, you'll automatically have fewer tokens, but the price per Ample will tend to cycle around $1. This novel rebasing mechanism is what allows Ample to be used in contracts. Interesting. When you hear it, it almost, could be misinterpreted as, a stablecoin. It definitively isn't. I mean, you see here are the percentage moves, 111% up there. So definitively, this is a big mover in value for sure. Even though, as we can see here in the value, it does sort of hover around $1-ish, but it can be, like up here it was approaching, it was around $2. Here it reached a high of 1.56. Well, I mean, it's not dollars as such, it's the Ample coin, but okay. I think you get the point. It moves. This is a mover, even though it does have, a relatively clear floor, which makes it, especially interesting at this point because we are touching the floor region. Something you see here is that you have these cycle patterns. It moves in these bigger cycles, but also you have these smaller cycle patterns as well. So there is some level of predictability in the price. Based on the cycle patterns, we have reason to suspect, a rising phase here. On top of it, the weekly are, well, this is the daily data points. And, okay, so these are daily data points. There's not really much point in looking at the weeklies because we have so little data here that, it's much easier to just go here to the dailies. Okay, anyway, we do see the cycles. We do have a floor where, generally speaking, having some position has, been profitable percentage-wise. I mean, if you look at this relatively small rally here, that was 53%. That is, pretty significant. So very tradable. Low region of RSI, they tend to be bought as well. So basically, it's interesting at these levels. Looking at correlations here, we do have a 18% correlation with S&P 500. Very modest. Let's look at the correlation here with Bitcoin. So let's use the Bitcoin index. So here we have a 3% positive correlation, but that is basically almost no correlation whatsoever. So that is pretty darn interesting. Let's look at the correlation with gold. Just out of interest, here we have minus 6-ish. Also, all approaching in basically no correlation. Let's look at the UUP, the dollar index ETF, while we are at it. So here we have a minus 14% negative correlation. So definitely some very interesting correlations here that make it especially interesting as a bit of a market neutral-ish investing vehicle. Yeah, so I would say that there's reason to have a bullish lean here, given the price levels and the history of this asset. Very interesting. So let's look at some of the other cryptocurrencies. Let's look at the big king of them all, and that is of course the Bitcoin. We look at the Bitcoin index. Let's quickly look at the weeklies. We have seen a decline here on the RSI, but not on the price. You could make a case that this is a bearish divergence on the RSI. The thing is that RSI was so overbought that you could interpret it in a different way, in the sense that it would actually be more potentially bearish if RSI went even higher. Hence, it's sort of like is a good thing that we see a lower RSI. We have seen that Bitcoin has been starting to move in these waves. I think this is a very healthy change in the trading behavior. There is actually a pattern that's been rather consistent. Recently, you see that you have this one push, pullback, another attempt, and then the correction. And here again, you have the push, the pullback, attempted rally. You have this little bit of a rally here, and then the pullback. And here we have this one push, bit of pullback, attempted rally, and so based on this and these two prior patterns, it suggests, if this continues, that there could be some pullback, like we saw in the other instances. So let's look at the size of the pullbacks. If we measure from this level to the low here, 24%. If we measure from this attempted rally to the low, 15-ish%. But of course, there's no reason that these patterns will repeat. But I think you can see it yourself. There is this 1-2 pattern. So big rally, an initial pullback, attempted recovery, and then the completed correction. And this has happened, both of these prior times. It's interesting. Let's look at Ethereum. Let's look at the index. Yeah, I mean, it is a bit of an issue here for Ethereum that we did not get above this level. Hence, the situation here is, there is some urgency here for the bulls for sure, because if you are a bull and you look at the Ethereum chart, then this makes you a bit uncertain, and that can of course increase the selling pressure. If you are a bear, then this is the kind of situation that you want to speculate on, and that is topping pattern. So yeah, so the bulls basically are the ones that need to really do something now, because this could become more of an issue. Let's look at Monero / the US dollar. This. Well, do they have an index? I think they have an index like this. Yeah, the Monero index. Basically consolidating here, but we do have higher highs and higher lows after this pullback. So all in all, that it's the kind of development you want. That is healthy. It is constructive. You also have accumulation distribution rising, which is also, constructive. Okay, let's look a bit further here on this whole thing with AMPL, because you see that there certainly seems to have this whole question of whether AMPL is a stablecoin or not seems to be a thing. So let's look at their answer. So AMPL versus stablecoins. Often we're asked, if the number of tokens in my wallet can change, then isn't Apple still speculative and volatile? Why not use a stablecoin like Tether or DAI for a contract denomination? Our answer, because the goal of the decentralized finance movement is to create an alternative financial ecosystem beyond the reach of politics, stablecoins either rely on traditional banks or to rely on lenders of last resort. AMPL is an independent financial primitive that does not rely on centralized collateral or lenders of last resorts. It's like Bitcoin, except it can be used in contracts. Yeah, interesting, but as we saw, there is certainly some price volatility. That was very clear in the chart.